Catherine Comden, Behavior Program Manager at Willamette Humane Society in Salem, Oregon, where we're just coming off of a very busy kitten season. Did you get a new cat this summer? Did you know that you can train your cat or kitten to perform a bunch of tricks, to come when called, and to walk on a leash? Today on our show, we've got an Oregon State University cat expert, Kristen Batali, here with some friends to show us how it's done. Curl up with your favorite feline and get ready to find out more on this week's Pets and People. So Kristen, thank you very much for being on the show today. I'm really excited about the work that you're doing at the Oregon State Human Animal Interactions Lab. And how long have you been there?
Been there about 2 years now.
Okay. Yeah. And so you're actively involved in doing research there about cats. What are some of the things you're looking at there?
Well, one of the main projects we have currently is a kitten training class for kittens 3 to 8 months. And basically we bring them in for a 6-week course, and they learn to sit, come when called, go to mat and stay, do tricks like jumping or standing up. And then I also do work with adult cats, both pet and shelter cats. So if anyone ever has a cat to offer up for that, we have plenty of tests going on. We're in the Human Animal Interaction Lab at Oregon State. And so our main body of research is that bond between the human and the animal. And so much of the research we're looking at is how human interaction influences their behavior. So for example, the kitten training classes, how does this experience influence that kitten's bond with their owner, or how social they are with other humans?
That is really fascinating, and what I find really interesting is that we have been looking at cats in relationship to people for really only a very short time. How long?
Within the last 20 years is when it's kind of started, but only the past 5 years has it really picked up.
Yeah, it seems kind of ridiculous to me when you consider how much information we have about species that live on another continent.
Right. Yeah.
And here we have cats right in our home, and a proliferation of them. I mean, there's more cats than any other species as pets, I think.
Yes.
And so finally they're getting their due attention. Now, there are a lot of people that'll say silly things like you can't train cats, but obviously if you're holding training classes, you're showing that's not to be true. How do you overcome some of those barriers with people?
Well, I think that brings up a good point. A lot of the time I think it is the owner's perception of whether or not the animal can do it. But most of the time cat training is just like dog training. You just have to find what motivates that individual cat. So some cats, really want to work for food, whereas others might just want to work for toys or just human interaction in general. So really finding what motivates your individual cat is the best way to start training.
That's really true, and there's a difference for each cat, right? Each cat is an individual. So do you do any personality testing, or how do you determine the differences between one cat and another?
We, in our lab, haven't done a personality specific test, but we've been doing sociability tests. So basically we look at how long the cat is spending being social with a human. And we've really seen the personalities come out within that data. We've seen cats who spend no time with humans, cats who spend 20-30% of the time with humans, all the way up to 100% of the time with the humans. So we see that sociability coming out with the different personalities as well.
Have you found that cats with certain types of sociability with people are easier or harder to train then?
That's not something we've looked at specifically yet, but within our research with the kitten training classes, we collect that data on the kitten sociability, and that's what we're currently looking at. So I'll have an answer for you in about 2 years with that.
Yeah. Fantastic. I look forward to that. Now, you're also doing some research currently with the Willamette Humane Society. Correct. Would you tell us a little bit more about what you're looking at there?
Yeah, so for that we're looking at adult cats, any cat over a year old, and we're just basically, again, this ties back to that personality, but what that individual cat's preference is for different items. So we pretty much put them in a room with food items, scent items, toys, and a human, and see what they interact with most and try to find that most preferred item. And this is a way we can tie back into training. Well, what do most cats prefer, and what do cats individually prefer as well?
That's fantastic, because as you said, without a motivator, there won't be any training, because
Right.
we got to, if we all work for pay somewhere along the way, right?
Right.
We all work because it pays us at some level. And so for the cats, why should they show up? Why should they be here? I mean, is love enough?
Right. Some cats it is, some
cats-
it's not.
As it is with people,
Yes.
right?
Uh-huh.
So as much as I love my job, I'm really glad they still pay me, because
Yeah.
otherwise, I don't know, I might be out riding my horse or something
Definitely.
instead. So fantastic. So how do people get involved with the Human Animal Interactions Lab and find out about the research projects that you're doing?
Well, we have a website, thehumananimalbond.com, and there's a link right on there how to get involved. And we have everything from bringing your animal into the lab to submitting data remotely, such as vocalizations from your animal, and just to donating to our lab, or publicizing, or trying to put out solicitation for our research. So there's all kinds of ways to participate.
That's great. So is it just cats then, or?
No, so I myself work mostly with cats, but we also have students who work with dogs, wolves, foxes, horses,
Oh,
sheep,
wow.
just a whole variety of animals.
I had no idea it was
Yeah.
that broad.
Yes.
That is really exciting. That means that Dr. Udell is a very busy person.
Yes, she is. Yes.
Fantastic. Well, I know that you have invited some friends to join us
Yes.
today, and so we are going to invite them to come up and see what it looks like to be in a kitten training or a cat training class,
Great.
and how to motivate these cats and get started.
Okay, this is Sean and this is Kate O'Neill, and they've brought their two boys. This is Bojangles, who's already found the catnip, and Sterling is the black one over here. But we're going to do a little demo today to show how you would start training your cat if that was something you wanted to do. And in our training classes for the kittens, we typically use clicker training, same as you would use a dog. And so what we would do first was try to figure out what the cat likes. So as Catherine and I already mentioned, if you are using something the cat doesn't want to work for, the training's not going to be very successful. If you went to work and you got paid in corn every day, you probably would stop going into work. You don't really want to work for 8 hours of corn every day. And so same for the cats. You really want to find something that motivates them to work with. And so in class, we use everything from food items such as tuna or cooked chicken, freshly cooked chicken. Also just treats, and we actually use baby food. So this is just chicken baby food, no spices or anything added, and this has actually been quite a hit with the kittens in our class. But not all cats are food motivated, and I think this is a problem that a lot of people face when first training their cats. What else can we use to motivate that individual? And so one thing we're finding is that cats are really motivated by play. And so one thing you can do is try playing with the cat as well. See if we can get Bo going here. There he goes. And so if you can't find a food item your cat likes, you can use play. You can also use petting, just praising them, really about anything that you think your individual cat would like. So, do you know offhand what these two boys like?
Bojangles seems to really like food.
Food, all right. And Sterling?
Sterling is a bit more motivated by pets. He's
Pets?
really excited for attention and loves to play and jump around.
Great. And so that highlights another thing that Catherine and I had already talked about a little bit, but again, this personality difference. And so Bo is very food motivated, Sterling maybe more food motivated by social interaction. So again, you want to hone in on what that individual cat really likes. So how we would start this would be to first pair that click with a treat. And so really you're just going to keep doing this until the cat associates this click means a reward's coming. So for Bo, let's try to use a little bit of chicken. Basically, I would just click and give a small piece of chicken. And then I would click and give a small piece of chicken. You would do this over and over until that click signifies, oh, something good is coming. Now again, you might have a cat that is not very food motivated, and I get a lot of questions, how do you then reinforce or reward using play? Because that maybe seems a little a little different than you would usually do. And so another way, you could just click and then play for a little bit. Now he's a little distracted by the cameras, but you would just click and play. let's see, Sterling to fall. Click and play. So he's not very motivated by this right now, and this is actually a good example of something we wouldn't want to use for training right now because he's not paying very much attention to this. So you want to make sure what you're using is rewarding. But again, you'll just click, reward, over and over until the cat makes that association. And then what you can do is start training. So let's go ahead and try training them to target, which is basically just sticking their nose to the end of a stick. And this is a really great behavior because then you can kind of lead them around with it. So you could get them to start walking on harness and leash initially with it. You could get them to stand up for it or to spin around. So it's a really great behavior to start with. Let's see if we can get this. So whenever he puts his nose to it, I'll click and then I'll let him have a little bit of the baby food. And then I'll put it a little further away. And then a little further. And so the reward here is getting to lick the baby food off the end of the stick.
Is this a good way that you could, like, train your cat to be comfortable on a leash?
Oh, absolutely, yes. A lot of the times, I don't know if you experience this with your cats, but when you first put that harness on, they'll do that freeze and flop, where they just kind of freeze up and don't move in it. So one way you can get them comfortable in it is just distracting them from it even being on them. So doing targeting is a good way because then they're more focused on that stick and that reward than they are with the harness and leash being on them. So he's already getting this pretty good. Let's see if we can get him to stand up for it. Oh, good boy. So this is a great behavior to start with because you can already see they're engaging in other behaviors as well. Oh, can you do it again for us, sweets? Do it one more time. Oh. Good boy. Let's see if we can get Sterling to... Good boy. So he is not motivated by food, as you can see. He's not really going for it as much. So what we would do then, can take this food off. So what I'd like you to do is each time he sticks his nose to it, just praise him and give him a lot of pets. If he can do it. So you always want to start out really close to them. You don't want them to have to engage in a behavior. Let's say you put this here, the cat's all the way over there, make them come for it, that full distance. You want to start with something easy and build off. So again, we'll put it directly in front of Sterling's face. Let's see if we can just get him. He's not going for it. So what we're going to do is actually put something, we do know he likes catnip. We're going to put that on the end and see if we can get him engaging with it that way. Kind of sticks nicely because that chicken's there. So he kind of sniffed it.
Boy.
So that's how you would reward praise and petting for him.
Boy.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get it again. You want to just sniff it? So he's not having it, but that's okay. You're not going to have it. Let's see, what else could we get you guys to do, huh? So you can already see he's starting to follow that, and now he's got some catnip. But you can see, you can be creative with your rewards. So there's just catnip on here right now, and he's licking it off. So really, you got to just find what that animal wants to work for. Hey.
You're shy. Is there anything that you know of for bringing shy cats sort of out and getting them comfortable? Like if he has trouble, so occasionally he has trouble meeting other cats and he gets kind of freaked out. Is there anything that works for that?
Yeah, so one thing we do in our class is gradually over the 6 weeks, we do introductions between the kittens. So that first class, we don't have them really meet at all. It's kind of all about getting into that room and being comfortable with it. But what we will do is we'll do a scent swap that first class. So we'll have one kitten's item, so maybe a toy or a piece of cloth that they have their scent on, and we'll swap it with another cat. This way, then the cat can get experience with that scent before physically encountering the cat. And you can also build positive experiences around that scent. So if you have an item, say this feather, you can put it in front of the cat, praise them, put treats around it, put catnip on it. So a lot of positivity is surrounding that item. And then the next week, after they've had some experience with that scent, then they can meet but further away. And we'll kind of work to get them closer and closer using whatever treats they like, so that after a while, same as that harness and leash, they don't even realize that other cat's there. They're both kind of just eating treats next to each other, not really perturbed by that other individual. So that would be one way, just creating positive experiences with the other cat.
So is there also a way to do something about negative behaviors?
Yeah,
Or
definitely.
ones that you don't want them to be doing?
Yeah, and so I always like to encourage positive reinforcement to get rid of negative behaviors. So one way you could do it, let's say your cat is maybe getting up on the counter or the kitchen table. What you can do then is reward them for periods of time when they're off the table.
Okay.
So when the cat is not engaging in that negative behavior, you can reward them for that. But one thing you want to be careful of is, what is that motivation for getting up on the table? Is it because there's food up there? Well, you need to take the food off. Is it because the cat just wants to be up high? Well, maybe give them an appropriate space to redirect that behavior. So I would suggest, trying to find something positive to reward that is related to the negative behavior but opposite to it. So kind of incompatible. The cat can't both be on the ground and on the table at the same time. And then building positive experiences, the cat will see, oh, I get rewarded when I'm not engaging in this behavior, and that will help them make that association. Neat. So a few more things we can talk about. Let's see. Our enrichment for cats. So do they have some of these balls you said at home?
Yeah, that's how we give them their lunch.
Great. So you just open it up and put the food in there for them?
Yes.
They
Yeah.
like to hunt it, actually.
We make it a game every morning. They know it's coming and then we'll hide it, and so then they have to kind of search it out before they get it.
Oh, that's great. And so that is very much aligned with what we in our lab like to promote, which is finding ways to enrich cats' lives using their welfare, keeping that in mind. And so with welfare, we're talking about allowing the animal to engage in behaviors that are normal for that species. And so one of those for cats is hunting and catching their food. And so much of the time, cats are just free-fed and don't have that opportunity to work for their food. But things such as these balls, where you can adjust how hard they are, you can put snacks in there, and then they can roll them around and get the snacks out. Or something like this, where you can kind of put the snacks inside and then they can put their paws in and get it out. Or even they have these little Kongs for cats, and you can put, say, the baby food in there, and then they can work to get that out as well. And so there's a whole variety of different enrichment toys for cats that you can use to get them engaging in that predatory behavior that is so natural to them. So that's great that you guys have that. One other note maybe when trying to pick enrichment toys is buying stuff that the cats can actually perceive the color of. So both cats and dogs can only see yellow to blue spectrum. So buying things that are blue would be great because they can actually perceive that color. They are a green ball. They wouldn't actually be able to tell the difference between that ball maybe and this. It would all be kind of one shade of blue. But being able to then think about what they need as a species. Additionally, doing training sessions in the dark or in dim lighting would be really great because cats are crepuscular, which means that they're active during the early morning and late evening. So when it's not sunny out, bright sun. So if you can do training sessions when it's a little dimmer or in a darker space, they might be more willing to engage in sessions with you. Which right now we've got these bright lights on us and they're still doing pretty well, so that's great. You want to come up here? One other thing to note, so we have these cat towers and rugs here, and one great thing about these items in your home is that this allows the cat to then deposit their scent. And so this is really, really important, again, for the welfare of that individual. And so cats, scent marking is really important. So what they'll typically do is rub either their head or their body on an object and deposit that scent. And so what research has found is cats typically do this around areas of the home where they commonly frequent. So you might see your cat go from the kitchen to the living room, to the dining room, to the bedroom, and back around, and just scent marking. And so this is really important from an owner's point of view, because you then want to make sure you're dispersing these scent spots into areas where the cats want to use them. Sometimes we find owners who have litter boxes in the basement or the corners, or cat towers maybe in the corner behind a bunch of old stuff, and the cats aren't using them, and they're having problems with inappropriate scratching or inappropriate elimination. And so really one way to consider that is to move those scent spots into areas the cat actually likes and the cat actually frequents, so goes to commonly. If they're not in those areas, the cats might not use them and you might be pretty unhappy. So really consider the layout of your scent spots.
Well, thank you very much, all of you, for coming on the show today. I just had a couple of questions about these beautiful cats. Now, obviously, this is not the first time you've ever worked with these cats.
True.
Because they were able to come into the studio, be relatively relaxed in this novel environment, and I'm sure the people at home are like, that's not real. So when did you start working with them?
Well, they're brothers. They're about 1.5 years old now. We got them from a shelter when they were 2 months old.
Okay.
And I think we started working with them maybe about a month later.
Okay,
Month
so
or 2
pretty
months
much
later.
right away.
Yeah.
And since they were brothers, they have only known being with each other. So
Yes.
you don't have any problems with them being territorial or possessive over, do they sleep together? Do they like to hang out
They
together?
clean each other, they sleep
Aw,
together.
That's fabulous.
They're always together.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful if that were the case in every home. I know at the shelter we send a lot of new cats, adult cats often, home to new homes, and we always have cats in need of homes. Do you have any tips for our audience regarding bringing a new adult cat into a resident adult cat's home?
Definitely, yeah, and that's a big question I get, how to do introductions between two unfamiliar cats, especially with an adult cat who might be set in their ways and never lived with another cat their whole lives. And so I typically say do it in stages, so first scent, then sight, then touch. So for scent, like I mentioned earlier, you can do scent swapping with the cats, but you want to make sure those cats are kept apart. So the two cats are in 2 different rooms, and you swap the scents of maybe their toys or their beds, and again, build positive associations with those things. After you've done that quite a few times, then you can switch to sight, but again, I would not have them in physical contact yet. So maybe have a baby gate between them, or a screen where they can both see and smell each other, but not come into physical contact, and make sure that neither cat feels cornered, or like the other cat maybe could corner them and be aggressive. And then after you've done that quite a few times, then you can finally come to that physical meeting. And you don't want to rush this. Some people, they get really excited when their cats come
Right.
home, and let's just put them out and
Bad idea.
run together in the living room.
Yes, we'll be flying
Right.
born free. And no, it doesn't work that way. In fact, a lot of times I'll get the phone call after they've failed.
Yeah,
And
yes.
they've had that initial, disaster happen, and a fight perhaps.
Uh-huh.
And then I just counsel everybody, bring it all back and start over. Just
Right.
start over. And we might be looking at easily a month or 2
Definitely.
months or 3 months, depending on the ages of the cats, depending on whether they've been social partners
Mm-hmm.
before, and just how everybody's going to adjust. And years ago, when I had my very first cats, I had to learn that one the hard way
Yeah.
too, as you learn lots of lessons. And so I had some failures before I had somebody smarter than me kind of start to bring me along in education about what to do with the cats. But I answer those questions now on a regular basis, and I think the number one thing is the owners just really don't understand how slow it needs to be, because cats are different social partners than dogs are with each other, and typically less socialized with other. When we take our dogs out and go see other dogs all the time, but cats, when do they get to go
Right.
anywhere? So,
And that's very much the goal of our kitten training classes, or to give them a space in which they can go out and get those positive experiences, because so much of the time, the only time cats leave the house is to go to the vet or to maybe go to boarding or grooming. And so they don't have a space where they can go play on cat towers or get treats and meet other individuals to become socialized.
yeah, those are some absolutely fantastic tips, and I love that these cats are walking around on harnesses and they're just ready to go. Well, we're about out of time, so I'm going to say thank you again very much, all of you, for bringing your cats, and Kristen for coming all the way up here to let us know more about the research that you're doing. And I want to encourage everyone at home to go ahead and sign up for participating in those research projects down at OSU. They're a fabulous group of people down there doing wonderful things to help us learn more about our pets. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Don't forget to go down to Willamette Humane Society on Turner Road, where you just might meet your next #1 kitty fan. Thanks.
Hi, buddy. Hi, honey.